Yes, yeah, sometimes, but it goes beyond that even, I think. Like, even if the adaptation is not there, or it's difficult to see or it's difficult to induce, movement is still more important than that. Why? Because you can. That's why. The movement doesn't need reasons. You don't need to do, like, another question that is commonly asked is, why are we doing this? Where in movement perspective, many times it has a place and many times it doesn't have a place. Why are you dancing? Because you can.
Yeah, why not?
Because why not? Because you're capable. The second part of it, if you're not gonna do it, you're gonna lose it. And then you will pray to all gods in existence to regain 10% of the capacity that you had before. So stimulus, adaptation, but beyond that, because we can, because that's what we're meant to do with this human body, you know? Similar to the way that we activate and work with our brains, because that's much more common nowadays.
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's such a fantastic thing. Well, I'd love to dig into a little bit on your philosophy about nutrition and lifestyle as well, Ido, in addition to the movement. Can you give us kind of like a 50,000-mile view of what you believe is the best way for us as humans to eat? You obviously feel like we should be moving every single day and working on complexity and movement patterns and so on and so forth. What should we be eating?
Well, it's a huge question, and for sure must be individualized, similar to movement
Sure.
perspectives. So prescriptions there, I also view as very problematic.
Right.
Um, I belong to the evolutionary perspective of things,
Right.
but since as I said, my dogma is movement, and it's not any evolutionary perspective on nutrition, I will use whatever assists and whatever works in that regard. Um, I definitely believe in the consumptions of animal protein and the need for animal protein and the way that we are adapted to it, the way that we're using it. I'm also aware that you're able to get away with breaking certain rules and supplementing and changing and modifying. And I'm also aware of the ability of some people to smoke heavily and drink and still be amazing movers. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it.
Right.
But definitely that's one of the cornerstones of a healthy diet. From there, it's all about the hormonal response, the way that I look at it nowadays,
Sure.
and what kind of a hormonal response is required. And to each man, his poison, and to each man and person, his drug. Uh, some people have certain hormonal issues that require a certain macronutrient breakdown or a certain perspective, and others differently. And as I age, I also change and all the time look again into myself and try to boost certain aspects. As we age, our hormonal environment changes, and you must adapt to that.
I like that. You know, it's so interesting. I started getting into blood work more recently, and it's so powerful what your hormones can tell you about whether you're doing things correctly or not. So I commend you for saying that. You know, you're looking at a hormonal perspective with that. What does your lifestyle look like, Ido, as far as like, you know, sleep and stress reduction and things like that?
Mhm. Well, I sleep a fair amount of time. I sleep a good 8, 9 hours a night because I move so much. I also take a nap in midday. Um, I meditate once or twice a day for 20 or 30 minutes, and it's been in my habit for many years now. Uh, I supplement, and I view the need for certain supplements for optimal living, um, since everything pretty much points to the fact that we cannot get a hold of optimal levels of certain micronutrients through our diet alone.
Sure, sure.
Um, yeah, those are some of the staples. Besides that, I'll use always someone to work on me and give me some body work. I use different folks with different perspectives, and always try to study and study myself, study my body, study through them. And those are just some of the things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It sounds like you take really good care of yourself, which is something that I think pretty much everybody on the call should be doing more of. For the people that are listening right now, Ido, who are hearing this message and they're thinking to themselves like, wow, this is really fantastic. This is a break from what I may conventionally be hearing, but it sounds like a lot to take on. What can you say to them in terms of getting them started on their journey of movement and just expressing the best version of themselves?
That's the thing. I don't have good news about that.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah. The thing is, like every good thing, it's a complex thing. And as Albert Einstein said, things should be made as simple as possible, but not any simpler than that. And I don't believe they can be made very simple for the layman. So what I suggest you do is you start to educate yourself, start to dive into it and take responsibility. Rewrite the user manual for your own body. Most people, they just want to hand the car keys to someone else. And it's very similar to a very rich guy sitting in his castle, and he has this Rolls Royce sitting in the garage and a driver, and he drives him wherever. He doesn't even have a license, but he has this Rolls Royce and he has the driver. One day the driver is sick, he will stay home. He'll call a taxi or he'll stay home. So actually the ownership of the car is not complete. It's not enough to buy the car. And it's the same with our bodies. Having a body is not full ownership of it. You must know your body. You must research your body. Nobody can do it for you. So I'm a big believer in education, and that's what I set out to do. I work very closely. In the last few years, my demand grew and grew, and I was able to dedicate less and less time to huge crowds. So what I had to do was choose the very dedicated crowd, but now it's starting to change as my company grows and more people assist me and work for me. And now we're starting to develop a lot more tools for people. And all of that will be available in the next few years through e-learning portals and books and videos and information that will help people basically learn more about the movement approach.
That's fantastic. I really like how you just preached personal responsibility, because you're so right how people just won't take responsibility for themselves and they put all of it on somebody else. And so said I should do this, but it didn't work. Well, it's not their responsibility to look at you. Well, Ido, I only have one more question for you that I'd like to ask everybody on the call. And obviously you're a very successful guy when it comes to being a well-known teacher. You're also a very good student, because I've seen the way you move and you certainly practice what you preach. What's your secret to success, my man?
Secret to success is sacrifice. I sacrificed a lot of stuff for my success in certain fields. Subjective success, as it's always subjective. Success takes something extra, takes something out of you. And it's something that many people don't like to talk about, or they want to present it as if it's not there. But I definitely believe that in any case of extreme success, there was a sacrifice in the heart of it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, that's a really interesting perspective. Well, Ido, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you coming on the Garage Warrior podcast and sharing your message with us.
Thank you, Tyler.